Welcome back. A few months ago, when the overturning of Roe v. Wade happened, many within the LGBTQ plus community were worried on what this could mean for their rights in the upcoming future. Then on November 16th, the Senate voted on a bill that will open up a debate that would codify federal protections for same sex marriage. Dr. Gloria Pope, Director of Academic Enrichment for Destination Tomorrow, joined me to discuss what this means for the LGBTQ plus community. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Now, can you just let everybody know a little bit more about your organization, Destination Tomorrow?
Well, Destination Tomorrow is based here in the Bronx. We have multiple offices. Our key office is on 149th Street. We are the LGBTQI plus enrichment center in a way because we are actually a place where youth can come. We provide a number of services, including housing, as well as social services, mental health, HIV testing, and a number of other things for the community that we service. We also have a COVID disparities plan where we work with our other organizations to support other health awareness issues in the community. So for my department, educational enrichment, we do a number of things from job readiness to the NADP program, GED prep, and financial literacy. So DT does a lot.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, today we're going to be talking about same-sex marriage and the threats that could be, happening for many people in the LGBTQ plus community. So I want to just start off by saying that a right to same-sex marriage was established by Obergefell v. Hodges in 2015. Now, I think understanding history is just important in general to know where we're going in the future. So can you just talk a little bit more, about the history behind that?
Well, for our community, same-sex marriage was always been a big thing because marriage comes with so many different rights in our country. That's the base of the families, the base of a lot of our systems when it comes down to medical insurance and a lot of other things. Even basic family planning is really affected by the concept of marriage. So in 2015, once it became legalized, it opened up an avenue for so many different families to solidify themselves with here in this country to get access to simple things as health insurance or access to simple things as being on the birth certificate of your child that you created together. So same-sex marriage has been a huge aspect for our community, and it's something that's definitely needed because we deserve to have that right.
Now, I'm so glad, and this is the reason why I love having these interviews because prior to this, when I think of marriage, I just think, oh, it's about love. But there are, like you mentioned just now, there are so many benefits and there are just so many, important things that come with marriage. So thank you so much for sharing that and just expanding, to people who don't know the meaning, or the benefits that can come with marriage. Now, can you talk about the threat same-sex marriage is currently facing?
Well, ultimately, as a result of Roe versus Wade, we're seeing that years and years of advocacy and community work has been thrown away. Ultimately, right? And people's rights and opportunities are just being subjected to the views of particular individuals versus their own personal needs. And as we go through history, we realize that once you have such a large scale change, it can be a real snowball effect where other things can be affected. So same-sex marriage is one of the first things that came up, as well as simple as IVF, as people creating families. And that definitely affects the queer community more than most. Right now the risks are just taking away our right to have access. And access is going to be a key word I'm going to say a lot during this because, of course, marriage is about love, but marriage provides access to so many different things in a lot of different ways.
Now, I want to just add quickly, like, were you at all surprised to see that we're in this place now? Because I have seen people online say, after Roe v. Wade and seeing what happened with that, that a lot of things were going to happen next. Were you surprised at all to see that we're in this situation right now?
No, not at all. This country, unfortunately, is known for such a thing. We certain decisions they cause transition, right? Because everything can happen. Because everything that we do has a result that's going to come after. There's consequences for all of our behaviors, whatever they may be. And these are kind of some of the consequences that we're going to face as a community. That certain individuals are going to feel more empowered to take away even more rights from individuals. Let's look at the fact that women didn't even have the right to vote forever, it seems like. We were definitely in the 20th century before we were even able to have a choice. People of color didn't have access to a lot of things until the civil rights movements until the 60s, but they were here for centuries. centuries. So this country has always been delayed when it came to basic human rights. So I'm not surprised that we're all, especially in my community, are really up in arms about what possible can happen for us as we move forward with the next few years.
Now, as I mentioned previously, that there are some efforts being taken to help codify same sex marriage. So far, several Republicans have supported efforts to pass legislation, again, that could potentially codify same sex marriage. And they currently need 10 more Republicans to support the bill. Can you first just tell me your thoughts on this?
Well, codifying definitely for people who don't understand that word is a very complex word for some of us. It just basically means making something into a law, making it solidified as federal law in this country. And it's a bill that we all need to have the support of. Is because why, especially for, let's leave myself an example. I've been married to my wife now for 6.5 years, and with these types of rulings, what is that going to say? That tomorrow all of a sudden we're not married anymore? All of a sudden my name who's on my daughter's birth certificate won't necessarily count anymore. There's so much at risk. So supporting this bill is important because the queer community is also rebuilding family foundations, and strong families, two-parent homes are essential to the growth of our nation overall. And we should not be so subject to what those families look like.
Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I want to bring up something that I read in Vox. Now, this bill would repeal the 1996 Defense of Marriage Act, which previously defined marriage as a legal union between a man and a woman. And it would also force states to recognize same sex marriage and even interracial marriages. So, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
like the idea of family and what that looks like is changing. Can you just talk about how, what we're seeing in society today, this is not just about the LGBT community alone. Although it is affecting that community, this is something that is, I would say, like just a humanity problem that we're seeing just in general. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. Everything is about everybody, because once you make one decision to change somebody's rights or what they can do, what they cannot do, is going to affect others. Because who's to say that all of a sudden, oh, interracial marriages can't work? Oh no, marriages across cultures can't work. Marriages to anyone can't work. You can't marry somebody from a different country. So it can affect so many different people, because then you're sitting there, now we're all subject to personal opinion versus this basic human rights for everybody. So yes, it's clear, especially when it comes to things of interracial marriage, because this country is definitely racially driven. It always has been. So how can we sit here and not think that they may come for that next? Because remember, interracial marriage wasn't legal for a long time either. That took a long time to pass. So who knows if they might reject that as well. So everybody at this point in time should start advocating for keeping this, because it can just spiral to other things.
Now, I want to talk about, Roe v. Wade. Just again, if same-sex marriage saw a similar outcome to that, what could this mean for people in LGBT communities?
Fear, because there is no clear answer. We don't know what ultimately that will look like. The thing about Roe versus Wade, you still have states who are okay. I'm a proud New Yorker. I'm proud, taxes and all. I'm happy to live in the state that I live because it's so liberal, and I feel safe here with my basic human rights here in this state. But with certain shifts of this country, we don't know what can possibly happen. We don't know if all of a sudden it nullifies my wedding, it nullifies my legal binding marriage, right? It nullifies my children, it nullifies my family situation, it nullifies my situation for when I go, if I leave my partner here, as she may not have the legal access to my social security to take care of our family. So it's the longevity, the long game that really matters, because we're legally married because we wanted to sit here and have a strong foundation and create generational wealth. And this bond that we have that's legal currently in this country provides that access. But taking that away, it can leave my children and my grandchildren destitute.
Now, you talked a little bit about, being from New York and, feeling safe here. And I know that a lot of women, when Roe v. Wade happened, kind of felt similar. Do you think New Yorkers should get too comfortable just because, maybe we're protected? Or do you think New Yorkers should also, stand up and advocate and be aware about what's happening in in different states?
Well, first of all, New Yorkers need to stand up and stand proud. We're the loudest people alive, and we need to stand up and advocate for others. We're strong. You know, we're definitely New York strong. I go with it 1000% that we are here and we can really show how we are able to build up our state and support people and still give them basic human rights, right? Even when it comes down to basic stuff about how much people are actually physically making to survive, like income based, right? Because there's still states who don't have a minimum wage where people still can't survive. $7, it doesn't matter. Your cost of living is clear where we are here too. So it's just like there's so many examples of the state and how we do things and that we succeed and that people can have a good way of living here. So yeah, I don't think that we should sit here in our little bubble. No, I'm not a bubble person. Let's stand on the rooftops and let's rap and sit here and advocate for other states to kind of join us and align with our brothers and our sisters who are at more risk in some of these states that they call their home.
Now, if this bill passes protecting the right to same sex marriage, what message could that be sending to LGBT communities? I just want to add that I think it's good that people are thinking, like, you know what, let's get ahead of this now. So, if LGBT communities, have the right to same sex marriage and that's protected, what message could that be sending?
Well, ultimately, it's going to send the message that somebody cares about us. You know, we fought really hard for many years, from Stonewall, for our rights, for to be seen. Let's not even go back to the health crisis of the AIDS epidemic that happened back in the 80s, and that's because the 80s is not even that long ago. It's only 40 years ago that we were sitting here asking for medical treatment, right, for our gay and our queer people who were experiencing AIDS during that time. So it's like for us, I just feel as if it's really just important that we just have access to certain things, and this legislation being legal would give us this level of security that's so important, because who doesn't want to feel safe in a place that you live, a place that you that you thrive, a place that you support and that you honestly pay taxes to. Because let's not even get into what the queer dollar looks like. We're $1 trillion group of people. There's a lot of money that comes directly from us. We buy homes, we open businesses. So why should we not get the same supports as everybody else?
Now, and also, can you just quickly explain how people, if they want to be more informed, where could they quickly go just to learn more about it?
Well, definitely you can come over to Destination Tomorrow at 149th Street. We are big on an advocacy piece and how you can actually support these different legislations. We're really lobbying for a lot of different things. Sean Coleman, our CEO, is great and really focused on how DT can be a centralized space across this country for individuals to find out information about the queer community and how you can support. There's also a number of websites that you can look at, and you can check out our website, destinationtomorrow.org, and you can find information there as well.
All right, doctor, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. I'm wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.